You smell what the Rock is cooking.
Acknowledge me.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
We are bad to the bone. Get it? Bad to the bone.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I'll fight anybody. Who do you want? Just let me fight him.
Let me tell you something, Jim Ross.
Mega powers, yeah.
We're coming for you.
We are the best of the best.
Woo! Wheeling dealing. Smart marks.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
Hey guys, welcome to Talk 'em Into the Building, a very special quick hit episode of Talk 'em Into the Building. So I'm here with Eudy and Adrian, and we just want to do a quick tribute to Sid. As you guys know, Sid Eudy, also Sid Justice, known as Sid Justice, also known as Sid Vicious, once known as Lord Humongous, passed away. And one of those stars that's just bigger than life. And, you know, before we jump into the promo, I wanted to bring Adrian. I just want to jump to you. What was your impression of Sid?
Larger than life. He was a humongous human being, bro. Like, it's one of those things where a lot of us, when we think of Sid, we think of the funny, like we're live pal, like those kind of promos or those things, making fun of the guy or him getting hurt in the ring, that stuff like that, all this negative stuff. And it sucks that you got to lose someone to actually truly reflect and look at all the cool things that guy did in his career. He main evented 2 WrestleManias. That in itself is it's a great accomplishment that not many can say. So definitely larger than life. Definitely looked the part. Like the dude looked like an action figure, and he's a part of some of my favorite events as a kid, man. Like, he's just a great character. Not the best promo, at least for me, but you know, we all can't be that. Eudy.
You took the words out of my mouth, but really growing up in kind of that era where like Warrior was my guy and others, like he was like kind of in tandem, right? Like kind of that era, that mix of these on-screen characters, this on-screen character that his gear was simple, right? But he had presence right from the beginning, right? Even to the connection to a murderer, really, right? It's like, gosh, this guy's like got the look. He's literally about to destroy someone in the ring, but it was just the buildup to it. Not a audacious, not this spectacular entrance, but just the music and that look. That look as you walking through the crowd and you're like, I don't want to touch this guy, and I fear for the person that's in the ring with him. And that's before he even threw a punch. Really, echoing what Adrian said, he became a meme in a lot of ways for a long time, and an example of, a horrific injury, but just someone who, whether anyone likes it or not, he's going to have that place forever, because now those early WrestleManias are beyond historic, right?
Definitely.
They're historical at this point, and they're going to be these archives that people look at, like, who's that guy? Yeah, I could take Sid, back then, place him in 2024, and he'd fit right in,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just that presence. But rest in power, and my respect to his family, and definitely will be honored and remembered.
Yeah, for sure. I think about him being with the Twin Towers, teaming with a young Mark Callis, i.e., the Undertaker. It's just crazy to sit back and think about back then. You know what I mean? And then, him becoming a world champion, him coming over to WWE, being the heir apparent to Hogan.
Yeah.
And then if you guys have ever listened to Something to Wrestle and all that kind of stuff, he turned it down. He wanted to be a heel. They basically said, I don't want to be the next Hogan. I'm like, are you crazy? But he basically turned it down. That's kind of what happened to that heel turn. So just wild. I mean, just interesting. Somebody who I enjoyed as a kid. I was never a huge Sid fan. It was like that thing I wanted to be, but I couldn't be. Especially when he turned on my man, Hogan at the time. He turned on Hogan. Sorry, you turn on Hogan at that time. Nope, sorry. Yeah, that's getting pulled for you. So I have a couple of promos I wanted to share with you guys.
This is Sunday Hogan. As I sit here and I gloat, I ask myself, what are you doing right now? Are you sitting in your hotel room, sitting at the edge of your bed, bent over, wanting to throw up with that fear stuck in your gut because you are feared of me? And you know when Mania will be your last event. You've even said that. Now, they got a tribute to you, Hogan. It's not a tribute. It's a farewell party. And I'm the one who's caused it. I am the one who has ended Hulkamania. Why? Because I rule the world.
That to me, one of his best.
Mm-hmm.
Out of lead, coming to you.
That catchphrase, the ruler of the world, and you could stick that on so many T-shirts, and of course they did. We talk a lot about cadence, but just the volume, right? Like knowing someone's like loud and animated, quiet, animated, quiet, and the contrast with is it Harvey Whippleman who was there? Yeah, just so goofy. And accentuates, kudos to everybody for that production because he got the short guy with the monster to accentuate how massive Sid was. But just really cool to see a genuinely scary looking dude and just the delivery that makes him believable, right? We talk about believability, and no matter how big, how small you are, obviously he's leaning into that strength. But a lot of the times people do that same style promo and it falls flat because you don't buy it. You don't see it for truth. And you do here, right? There's still that element of a little bit of cartoonishness, but it's within the scope and within the parameters of the show at the time. So really just reminds you of what a great talent he was.
Adrian, what you got?
Unhinged, man. You could tell he was leaning into being unhinged, and then he'll grab it together. Then he'll let it go a little bit, and he'll grab it back together. And then he's like, "No, screw this. I'm gonna end Hulkamania." A statement like that alone, like you said, Greg, instant heat from your fan base, the kids, everyone. This is the biggest story. You're talking about ending this man, saying this isn't a tribute, this is a farewell because I'm ending you. All right, man. Now he's talking. I gotta see the hero prevail. So cool. That's a great promo.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think this is that type of thing when we're talking about you touched on it. He wasn't a great promo at times, but this is the magic of WWE at the time, and to this day, they know how to produce somebody. We touched on it before when we did that Von Erich episode and how they took Kerry and said, "We're gonna put you in this bubble. You stay right here, and these are your parameters." That's what they did with Sid. And I think his promos were so much better because he had that structure. And there's not a knock. That's nothing wrong with that at all. Sometimes you have to have that structure, and you can flourish in that structure. And I think that he did. There's others that don't, right? And there's, again, not a knock or anything. It's just understanding where am I best suited. But I had to bring the other one. I had to because Sid has so many other ones, and you kind of touched on it. So I've got to go live. We got to go live with it. We have to.
Sid, I've got a question for you. We all know that you can bring the heavy offense, but there are a lot of skeptics that think that perhaps you can't take it, that you can't take the punishment that Diesel will give you tonight. How do you address those skeptics?
Well, the skeptics and all the people have a little bit of... Let me do this again.
Oh, it's live, Hal.
Sorry.
It's so quick. Oh, poor guy.
That's just like, dude. I mean, I think that's also that crutch because you saw that was in WWE. where you're used to being produced and you're used to
Mhm.
having, oh, you know what, let's do take 4, let's do take 5. But I don't know if you guys remember seeing that live, but Adrian, what was your first reaction when you saw that one?
I just remember laughing my ass off about that, man. It almost seems like JR, that was a genuine reaction from JR, like man, I can't do anything, bro. Like we're legit live. It wasn't like he was trying to bury him for it or anything like that. It was like a genuine reaction. So I mean, it sucks that that's something that Sid is going to be forever remembered by, but you know, some of that stuff we got a laugh out of it. It was a laugh from something that's harmless, something funny, versus us laughing and pointing and laughing like, "Oh, you suck!" Like it wasn't that kind of thing. It was just one of those live in infamy moments for sure.
You hit the nail on the head, right? It's lighthearted and it makes you probably seek out more. I'm like, all right, so what could this guy go? And you probably uncover some of the good stuff. And it just this became kind of part of the pro wrestling parlance, so to speak, because it got played so much on Botchamania and hell, I think it's like, isn't it the name of like a podcast?
That's the name
right
of
now?
a podcast
The
now.
Wrestling Observer podcast. Yeah, the word up, pal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, that's not a bad legacy to have.
No.
Even if
And you know, I think the one of the things that really showed the appreciation for Sid is when he came back a few years ago, and when Heath Slater had that whole Legends coming back to beat him, and Sid came out, and that place lost their minds.
Yeah,
and I was like, man, it was good to see, because you just don't know what that type of return is going to happen. Because to me, he's a big what if. Like, and what I mean by that is he was a big star. But how big could he have been? Whether WCW or WWE, just he could, had he stayed at one place, whichever one, he could have just, I think, been blown up so big. And so when he came out to do that against Heath Slater, because people had already said he burned all his bridges and all that, and he came back and did that, and that place lost their minds. I think that was just such a nice tribute to him, and that showed the appreciation the fans truly have for him.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Man, rest in peace, man. Rest in power, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yes. Definitely one of our childhood heroes, man. This is as wild to think about, you know, Sid Vicious, and he's that type of person that looks so invincible and so like he could just whip anything. So I think it just kind of shows our mortality. So definitely rest in power to Sid.
Definitely, man. Gone too soon, for sure.
For sure. But hey, thank you guys for joining us on this special edition about Sid, right here on Talk 'Em Into the Building. And hey, always, you know, subscribe, listen, check us out on a regular basis. But thank you again, and once again, rest in power, Sid.